I think Israel's achievements, even in the short time this campaign's been going on, have been absolutely remarkable. I don't think any other country in the world, not even the United States, could have achieved what Israel has achieved, despite the fact the US has far greater military capacity than Israel does. I still don't think they could have achieved what Israel's achieved. And this has been planned for years, decades, I would guess. The Iranian nuclear program has been on the table for a long time, and it's threatened Israel for a long time. And of course, Israel hasn't just sat on its hands and waited until Iran gets a nuclear weapon. It's been planning, it's been working, it's been developing intelligence, it's been refining its operations, and it's been, it's really, I think, what's been achieved has been staggering. It's not just the military potency that Israel has managed to deliver into some key Iranian sites, but also, I don't know the details except what I've seen in the media, but certainly it appears that there have been actions on the ground as well to disable some offensive capabilities for Iran, as well as the decapitation of the armed forces and the killing of quite a few nuclear scientists. And again, that couldn't have been done. That could not have been done without hugely developed intelligence over many, many years. And I think that's the answer to the situation. Israel has been working on this for a long, long time and focusing a huge amount of assets on it. And meanwhile, at the same time, another consideration, I think, another reason why Israel has been able to be so successful is that it's probably had more operational experience in the air, on the ground as well, but that doesn't necessarily come into play here, but in the air than any other, certainly any other Western country, probably any other country in the world, with its 7-front campaign that it's been fighting now for more than 18 months. And developing tactics, developing techniques, gaining experience, all of that, I think, plays into what Israel's managed to achieve so far. It's very hard to assess how badly Israel has and also is capable in the future of damaging or destroying Iranian nuclear capabilities. But I would see it as much more than, it may not be the complete destruction of their nuclear program, but it's going to be much more than just a setback. And a lot of people have speculated over many years about whether Israel has the capability of dealing with very deep and heavily reinforced nuclear facilities. I think, Israel, again, has had a lot of experience in dealing with air attacks against tunnel systems in Gaza and elsewhere in Lebanon. And that's not the same thing, but I think, maybe it is now in a position where it can at least do very, very significant damage. And whatever setback, if it's going to be more than just a setback, it's going to be, probably years of before Iran can get to anywhere near the point it's at now. And that's assuming, of course, that the Iranian regime remains in place, which is, I think, highly questionable given what's happening to Iran at the moment. I think Iran is, I think they've been very complacent, despite the fact that that they have attempted, in April and October last year, they attempted large-scale attacks against Israel using drones and ballistic missiles, and they achieved nothing from it, literally nothing, minor damage, that's all. And at the same time, they've seen Israel response, relatively limited response in both cases. But the second response in October last year saw Israel pretty much take out the Iranian air defense capabilities, the Russian supplied air defense capabilities. So if you kind of put those two things together, it should have shown Iran the position it's in. They should have kind of worked it out. But only, I think it was yesterday that the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, General Salami, was saying that, next time there's a confrontation, Israel's going to be really suffering, etc. Now he's dead. He's dead the day after he came out with all that. And I think that is quite a, sort of quite a good illustration of the Iranian mentality. the fact is also, I think that even if they could bring themselves to believe that this situation could occur, in theoretical terms could occur, I think they also led themselves into this dead end where they believed that President Trump would restrain Israel from carrying out an attack, and they were stringing the United States along with their, false attempts to negotiate. And I think they thought that would it's happened so many times before. It happened under the Obama presidency. It happened with Biden, where both of those presidents bent over backwards to appease Iran. And I think they're used to that. And they didn't really know what they were dealing with Trump. A lot of the media reporting has been going on, particularly in America, I think, since the Israeli attack began, was that America was distancing itself from Israel's operations. And I think Trump's comments show, as many of us knew anyway, that was far from the truth. I think Trump has not apparently provided direct assistance to Israel in this operation. They haven't used US military assets, as far as I know, but there's no question that Trump will have given the Prime Minister here the green light to go ahead, and will be fully behind what's happening. Now, maybe he sees that as being a means, after everything else has failed, really, of forcing Iran to the negotiating table or not. I don't know. Maybe he's even just trying to wind up the Ayatollahs at this point. It's hard to know with what President Trump has in his mind, but I would be very surprised if there was any reaction to this other than a very, very hard line from Iran. I can't see them, given their the way of thinking. I can't see the Iranian regime bowing down now and accepting that it's basically lost and has to seek peace terms with President Trump. I wouldn't say that President Trump's been forced into war. I think, except by Iran, I don't think he hasn't been forced into a war by Israel, certainly. I think the reality is that Iran has been so totally intransigent. And we've seen recent reports from the International Atomic Energy Agency that Iran has been breaching all of its agreements and all of its international obligations, and has essentially forced Israel to play this hand with no other alternative. And we've seen the horrors that Iran have committed around the world, including against British forces and American forces and civilians in different parts of the world, including the Middle East, of course, particularly the Middle East. We've seen what they're capable of doing. With pretty much unbridled violence wherever they can achieve it. And the very idea that a regime like that could get its hands on nuclear weapons is pretty much unthinkable. So I think, the negotiation path didn't work. It's been going on for years. And the time finally came when, military action had to be taken. I think it was always inevitable. I certainly have been following this situation for many years. And I never believed for one moment that we would get to any kind of resolution of this without military force, unpleasant though that, of course, is. We should expect to see Iran trying to lash out now in a number of different ways. And of course, the Israeli campaign has only just begun. And I think, the Prime Minister here, I'm in Israel at the moment, the Prime Minister here has said that we should expect it to last for at least days, if not longer, while Israel works on Iran's nuclear capability. And it's already, I gather, inflicted pretty severe damage on Natanz, one of the major nuclear sites. I don't know how bad that damage is, but it will need to work on the other ones as well, and it will need time to do that. But meanwhile, it will also be doing what it did at the very beginning of this campaign, which is to attack Iran's other offensive capabilities. Obviously, air defense is an important one, but in offensive terms, it's been attacking Iran's ballistic missile capabilities and its drone capabilities. So I would imagine that Israel will continue to do that as we move along, and that might well end in either the complete neutralization or partial neutralization of Iran's ability to lash out. And we've also seen that Israel has largely decapitated the top level of the Iranian forces, the head of the IRGC, the chief of staff of the armed forces, the head of the air force, and numerous others, no doubt. And that situation will not be easy for Iran to get under control, to the extent that it can carry out any really coherent retaliation against what Israel's done. So there are options which we may see Iran trying to do, or even succeeding in doing, and one of those is to attack US military bases in the Middle East, either itself or using its proxies. And of course that would be be a tough decision for Iran to take, because I think if it ended up killing US forces or US diplomats or whatever in the region, then all hell would probably be let loose on Iran by the United States, which so far it hasn't done. And of course, and the other option, of course, one of the other options that Iran has is to attack oil states over here. It's done it before using its proxies, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, part of the rationale for that, of course, is to punish the West, because the impact on oil prices would probably be significant. So I think those are the immediate options that Iran has if it manages to retain the capability to do anything. And we've already seen today, this morning, we were warned here in Israel that 100 drones plus were heading towards Israel. None of them got through. They were knocked out of the sky by Israeli air defenses and also by Jordan and Saudi Arabia. I don't know if the US got involved in that, but if the situation intensified and let's say they started firing large numbers of ballistic missiles, then I'm sure the US and possibly even the UK might join in the defense of Israel. So we've already got a bit of a measure, I think, for how the dire state that Iran is in now.